I do recall being tied to the bed. And I do recall very distinctly trying to bite off it. So I did have some strange memories. Once I woke, I remember some of the physicians, I think at one point you had asked me, did I have memories of anyone trying to kill me? And I thought I did, but I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want people to think that I was going nuts. So for the first week or so, I denied that I had these memories of. I felt like the nurses and technicians and the doctors were trying to kill me, but I was too embarrassed to actually share that information. So it took me about a week for me to actually admit I had those memories. I had one incident, and this was maybe the third or fourth day that I was fully awake, and I felt like there was a new technician working the night shift, and he was fumbling with my GJ tube, and I felt like he was putting medicine where the water should have went, or vice versa, and it completely freaked me out. I thought he was trying to kill me. So I hit the nurse call button, and I told the nurse on duty that I did not want that individual to touch me for the rest of the night. I was just very upset about that particular incident. And I remember that night I didn't sleep. The first day I was able to actually see myself in the mirror, I was startled. I mean, it kind of really saw how thin I was. My colleagues and I were having a little fun with No Shape November. I'm usually a pretty clean-cut, short-haired guy. And at that time, I had my full 6-week beard going from the ICU unit. And one of my friends described me as looking like a POW. So I was about 170, 175, which is where I am today. And when I was weighed going down to the rehab unit here, I think it was 135. So I lost about 40 pounds. I was extremely weak. When I got home on August 18th, and I live in downtown Annapolis, I could not walk around my block, which is about a quarter of a mile, without just being fully exhausted. By maybe mid-September, I started lightly jogging again, and I got up to maybe a mile by mid-October. And then once I got to that point, it kind of hockey stick. And again, by April, I ran the 10-miler in downtown D.C. So it was kind of baby steps, crawl, walk, run, literally. I have the privilege, and I'm lucky enough that I work from home, what I do for a living, and I started misplacing things around my house, especially for the first 3 or 4 months that I was home. I misplaced 2 TV remote controls, 2 pair of sunglasses, salt and pepper shakers, and this was very unusual for me. I never was that tired of being sick. I would be in my home office, I would make a cup of coffee, walk across the house to refresh the coffee, I'd get halfway across my house and forget what I got up for in the first place. I've noticed I've had troubles still trying to complete talks. And in my line of work, an IT consultant, I have to be up giving whiteboard presentations, talking with customers. I don't want to say freeze, but I'll just forget my train of thought in the middle of the presentation. I'd never had those issues prior to my illness. I was very concerned about what potential damage long-term I might have to my cognitive skills. And that kind of sat heavy on me for the first few weeks I was home. Again, see, there's an example of losing my train of thought. I just did it right there. So, so that was my biggest concern, was not being able to return and function, based on my career and what my job function was. I think it was very helpful, obviously, with my mother's 30 years of medical experience. She was able to kind of translate for me from the medical terms to the layman's terms. So I think that was extremely beneficial to have her bedside. Those notes were very helpful for me after I was discharged and seeing all of the rehab specialists back home, as well as my primary physician, and some of the ongoing issues I've had. So having those notes with me, I think, was very helpful. Okay. I reviewed them once I got home. And it kind of made me realize how sick and how serious that truly was. I guess, again, everyone kind of telling me, hey, Mark, you're very sick, you're on the oscillator, and so forth. But just reading her notes and as how she described it, I think it really brought home how ill I was. Back, for someone like my personality, is very goal-driven, and when I'm being told, no, slow down, you may not be able to do that, I find that very frustrating. I understand that medical professionals have to set expectations, but that actually irritated, really annoyed the cat. Someone told me, you can't do this, you can't do that, you may not be able to do that. I'm a very optimistic, positive thinking individual. I remember a lot of times they would reiterate, Mark, you were very, very sick, you almost died. And my rebuttal to that was, that's in the past. I want to look forward. So I honestly probably think about my experience last summer every day. I don't dwell on it. It doesn't get me down. It just makes me realize how lucky I am to be here on the stage right now. It makes me appreciative of my friends and my family, my coworkers. Like I said, I don't dwell on it, but I do think about it on a daily basis.